There was a conference we were both at in September when there was the revenue conference, and there was a chap on stage from the New York Times talking about essentially their, well, in broad strokes, but their strategy for the coming years and what they were trying to focus on. And, one thing that I noted was that there was no mention of journalism, right? There was ads and classifieds and games and, lots of this stuff, which is great for, monetization. But it does seem to sort of more align itself with the mass market entertainment segment rather than sort of journalism. And so, maybe he's taking his own side, whichever side of the fence he seems to be taking. At least Bezos then seem to be favoring journalism versus, out and out entertainment. Would that be a fair comment, or?
And he was limiting his direction to the opinion pages where, they are what they say on the tin. They are an opinion, in this case, of the newspaper or of the feature writers that they've chosen to give that opinion. I think the ... the consequence was that signaled a shift in the editorial direction of the newspaper overall. But you're right. I mean, I think it was a very, I don't want to say a journalistically led statement, because that's slightly wrong. But he wasn't focused on new content areas. He was just giving a very clear view on what he wanted the opinions of the paper to focus on. And like I said, I don't think that's anything new for a proprietor.
Yeah, I guess maybe the only difference there historically is that maybe he did that in the background in the past. Maybe he was a bit more, hidden or cached about it. And now it's just a bit more overt. And so because it's out in the open now, maybe that's causing a reaction.
And Lord knows I'm no defender of Trump and co. I mean, I think it's pretty shambolic what they're doing. But the thing that people forget is that Bezos has done this before. When Trump was elected the first time, the Washington Post very publicly adopted the slogan, democracy dies in darkness, which was seen as a rebuke to the Trump administration. So that was him interfering on the other side, if you like. So I think there's a little bit of double standards here to hold your, to hold your metaphorical apron because he happens to be interfering in a way that you disagree with. I mean, Lord knows I disagree with those opinions, but on the other hand, to use that cliche, I would defend his right to have them.
In either instance, whether it was in the 2016 or following the 2016 election or the most recent one here where Trump got elected, it seems that he's just using it as a tool politically to advance his own reputation, perhaps. And again, that's not anything new either, really, is it? In terms of whether a wealthy individual owns a particular publication or if it's a state-owned publication, it's about, those owners putting forward a narrative about how they think, people should think and society should view
Murdoch has been doing it for half a century, and there's nothing new in this. I think the broader point here, the macro point here, is it just kind of throws a light on really something that we all knew, but Bezos is perhaps realizing, which is that media is hard. It's not actually as easy as disrupting the book trade or the grocery trade or all the other trades that he's disrupted over the years. Getting it right is fundamentally quite difficult, and getting the combination of the content, the journalism, and the business model right to the point where you not only make a profit but are able to grow and establish a market position is really bloody hard. He's one of the most successful businessmen in the world, love him or hate him, and even he can't do it. So, it tells us a lot about those businesses in this space that do it and how well run they are and how much of a specialist profession this is. This is, anybody who's listened to me speak before will know this is one of my hobby horses. I get very annoyed at people who come into the industry thinking that they can just pick it up and do it when they've been an expert in something else. It's like me coming to your house and saying, I'm a plumber and I'm going to fix your sink just because I've seen a few videos of how to do plumbing. This is a specialist industry with a specialist profession with specialist skills. And Bezos, like everybody else who's tried to come into this industry, is realizing that he's actually quite difficult.
Yeah, fair. That's a really good point. It's not like, in other either product or service businesses where usually a combination of one or multiple of better, faster, cheaper drives results, right? Certainly faster and cheaper we've seen in the news cycle definitely doesn't manifest itself into A, profits, first of all, but then B, sustainability, because people, they get sick of the doom news loop and they bail out, or they get sick of just, weak stories.